You want to know how fast peace can turn into a circus? Let me tell you, it takes just one person with a little power, a lot of ego, and absolutely no respect for the word no. I should know. I'm Judson Hawk, though folks around here just call me Judd. 70 acres of Texas pasture, rolling and rough. That's what my father left me. Out here it smells like sun-warmed earth and honey, and nothing ever asked more of me than hard work and a steady hand. After 22 years running logistics and building bases for the Army Corps, I thought I'd seen every kind of human nonsense, but nothing quite prepares you for HOA warfare in your own backyard. You know what I mean? See, everything on this land is recorded with the county, fences mapped out back when most of these new houses weren't even a blueprint. This farm is private, always has been, always will be. There's a gravel road running along the east edge, just wide enough for feed trucks and the occasional vet's pickup. From the top of the ridge, you get a view that makes you feel like you've earned it. Golden fields under a sky so wide, even your troubles feel small. Well, that view didn't stay a secret for long. Folks in Silver Rock Estates, the shiny new development next door, they love their country charm, just not enough to actually own any. But the worst of them? Karen Landry, platinum blonde, oversized sunglasses, Range Rover with the kind of options that cost more than my barn, and the HOA president's title like it's a royal decree. First time I caught her, she was out on my road snapping pictures like she'd bagged a 12-point buck. She looked up, smiled that corporate smile, and waved, like I was the one trespassing. I tried being polite, told her this was private access. She just grinned, hopped back in her car, and drove off without a care. Next week she was back, new outfit, same smirk. I put up bright yellow signs every 50 yards, private road, no HOA access, farm use only. She treated them like wildflowers, nice for the scenery, but not meant to slow her down. Then it escalated. One day, I found a whole HOA picnic up there. Folding table, champagne, Silver Rock HOA banner flapping in the breeze, the valley behind them like a backdrop for influencer selfies. I tried reason. Karen told me, if it's not fenced, it's public. Everybody knows that. Everybody, apparently, except the guy who owns the dirt under her tires. I told her, again, it wasn't for public use, but she sipped her drink and looked right through me. A week later, a letter showed up, official HOA letterhead, crisp as a starched shirt, not asking but telling me to clear brush for resident access and coordinate viewing times. Like I'd already said yes. Out here, silence means no. But Karen took silence as an invitation to push harder. She started coming through with friends, a photographer, even tried to throw what looked like a wedding shoot right on top of my hives. I stood by the fence, jaw tight, watching the kind of boundary violations that make a man's blood run hot. One morning it went too far. After a fresh convoy had rolled through, I found two of my best hives smashed, honeycombs trampled, angry bees swirling in the air. In the grass, a designer earring and a Silver Rock HOA champagne flute. It was like a calling card for disrespect. I drove straight to the county office, filed a complaint for property damage, and got a permit to put up a temporary barrier. Document everything. The clerk told me. They're pushing for a right-of-way. You need a paper trail. Good thing I already had one. Photos, dates, license plates, every incident logged and ready. That evening, the Silver Rock attorney sent me a letter claiming prescriptive easement, their fancy way of saying, we use your road a lot, so now it's ours. I laughed out loud. See, that's not how the law works. You need open, continuous use with no objection from the owner, and my dad had been posting signs since before HOA was even a concept out here. But it wasn't funny. Bluff long enough, it becomes reality. So I got serious. Put up a motion sensor trail cam, built a set of steel spikes you could lock into place with a big red padlock, posted new signs in big black letters. Private road, spikes when locked, no HOA entry. Even the county workers driving by stopped and nodded. About time somebody said no, one told me. The real test came 3 days later. Just as I was pouring coffee, my phone pinged. Trail cam showed Karen's Range Rover easing past my signs like she was immune to English. I gave her every chance, but she blew through every warning. I locked the spikes. 10 minutes later, I drove up. There she was, for tires shredded, pacing around in fancy sandals, phone glued to her ear, shrieking like she'd discovered a crime scene. You rigged a trap. You could have killed me and my dog, she screamed, little white Pomeranian yapping from its Gucci bag. I kept calm, told her the truth. Private property, legal, permitted, and she'd ignored all warnings. She called the sheriff. I waited, sitting on my tailgate, sipping coffee. Deputies rolled up, heard both sides. I handed over the permit, photos, camera footage, every sign she'd passed, every warning ignored. One deputy watched the video and whistled. Karen just clutched her bag and tried to dial a lawyer on the spot. But the deputies saw it plain. Signs posted, road private, my rights protected. They filed a report, told her not to come back. She stomped off, but you could see it wasn't over. 2 days later, I got a subpoena. Karen was suing me for property damage, emotional distress, and, I kid you not, reckless endangerment of her support animal. She'd hired a lawyer famous for HOA lawsuits. Her dog, Biscotti, was now listed as emotional support child in the paperwork. I called my lawyer Bruce, an old army buddy turned district prosecutor. He laughed, then said, "This'll be fun." But Karen didn't stop there. She waged war on social media, called me a violent extremist, posted dramatic photos of her Range Rover on a flatbed, turned her HOA group into a PR machine. Local news ran a segment calling it a fence-line feud, interviewing Karen beside her wounded SUV, eyes glistening, telling the world she only wanted to enjoy the view. I watched it all, shaking my head. "You want views? Buy a postcard," I muttered. Court day was a circus. HOA supporters on one side, holding signs and hashtagging for public access, ranchers and old-timers on the other, waving banners about property rights and the meaning of private. Inside, Karen's lawyer painted her as the victim of a ruthless ex-military man, someone who weaponized his land. Bruce just grinned, handed over the land deed, county permit, and then played the trail cam footage, Karen blowing past 3 signs, right up to the spikes. But the twist? Bruce had dug up more. Karen had filed a zoning request months earlier, trying to get my pasture declared a community scenic route, never telling me, and even lining up a developer to buy the land once it got rezoned. She was building a whole campaign on the back of my family's ridge, turning trespass into a real estate scam. Bruce dropped the emails into evidence, Karen telling the developer she'd leverage public access and frame resistance as extremism. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman who'd seen her share of games, wasn't impressed. She called a recess. Outside, the protest signs got bolder. Someone on my side held a huge banner. "She's selling what ain't hers." Second day in court, Bruce laid out 2 other cases, same HOA, same dirty tricks. Both thrown out, both on record. Karen's lawyer tried to object, but the judge cut him off. She gave her verdict. Karen's claims dismissed. My road, my land. And then, bam. Karen and the HOA had to pay me $27,800 in damages for legal fees, loss of property, and the cost to restore my hives. She warned the HOA that any future stunts would bring sanctions and full county review. Karen looked like she'd swallowed a hornet. I didn't gloat. I just stood outside as the news crews rushed in and Karen ducked into an SUV, peeling off without looking back. A week later, Silver Rock booted her from the HOA board. Suddenly, everyone remembered they never liked her plan. The developer backed out, pretending they knew nothing. The HOA sent me a letter full of empty pleasantries, promising to respect boundaries. I framed it beside my permit for the spikes and a bit of tire from Karen's Range Rover. A week after the dust settled, I took a walk up my hill, coffee in hand, sun coming up just right, cows bellowing for breakfast. At the top, I bolted a new sign to the post, private farm access only. No HOA, no views, no mercy. Next to it, I mounted the torn tire scrap in a weatherproof case, plaque underneath, recovered with permission from Silver Rock HOA. Local kids come by now for civics class. Their teacher says I made property rights real for them. I tell the kids, ask me anything, just not across the fence. That gets a laugh every time. So, do I feel like the hero? Nah, I'm just a guy defending what's his. The spikes are still there, flat and harmless unless needed. Folks still wave, take photos, and sometimes ask if the story's true. I tell them, hell yes, every word. But you know, sometimes I sit on my porch at dusk, whiskey in hand, and wonder, how long before someone else tries to turn my land into their playground? Out here, lines don't keep themselves. So let me ask you, was I right to fight for my boundaries, or should a man just give up a view to keep the peace? Drop your thoughts below. Out here, we still believe in a fair fight and a story worth telling.